Hello, Craig.
It's all on you, it's all on me. Can't you see? It's all on you, it's all on me. You and me, can't you? It's all on you, it's all on me.
Hey, Craig. Right or wrong, we don't care. Win or lose, we don't care. We don't care. We don't care. We don't care.
Hello, Jeff.
What's up, buddy?
We both had whiskey tonight, so this should be a good one. This is Podcast versus Everyone.
Yes.
I'm episode 213. I'm Craig Powers. With me, as usual, Jeff Newser. And Jeff,
Yes.
look, it's Wednesday night as we're recording. By Sunday night, on Sunday afternoon, we know for sure that the Wazoo men will be announced as an NCAA tournament team, which is pretty
I know.
fucking sick. And also
It
makes
still
this,
seems a little surreal to me. I don't know about
it
you.
makes this Pac-12 tournament so much less nervy.
Yes.
You and I talked about it today. I tweeted this out. This is the first time WSU hasn't played on Wednesday of the Pac-12/10 tournament since 2008. Like they
Yep.
played on Wednesday every year after that.
Yes. So never a top 4 finish since 2008.
I didn't even need to look that up, dude. I didn't even need to look
Yeah, I
that
know.
up. Like I
know.
just knew.
Well, there was just never. There was just never another time when we were. I don't know. Were we even close? Like I'm trying to think. Did we even have like a fifth or a sixth?
Last 2 years, there was like a chance towards the end of the season.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Is last year they were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, sixth, and they were
Yep.
only one back of Oregon for 4.
Okay.
And the year before that, they were 5th. 1, 2, 3, 4.
They were
5.
only
But I
one
think
game behind
but I think
Colorado. So
only one became. So they have been close, but they were obviously without question in the top 4 this year. They were,
Yep.
2 games clear. Let's see, 4 games clear of UCLA, who was coached by the presumptive Pac-12 Coach of the Year midway through the season, according to one Twitter account. But hey, that's a great point to say. Kyle Smith, no surprise, Pac-12 Coach of the Year.
yeah,
Miles Rice,
Hell yeah.
no surprise, Freshman of the Year.
hell yeah.
Really cool. Both Miles, as in his first year, his freshman year playing all Pac-10. That's never happened at Wazoo.
Yeah.
It never happened at Wazoo for the men. Obviously, it's happened for the women. Charlize.
Yes.
But and then also Isaac Gate on there, no surprise. One that was surprising that fell all the way to honorable mention, especially given how he played in conference, was Jalen Wells.
Yes.
To that honorable mention mean you got at least one vote for the first team, and I don't know how many votes he got, but that means you got at least one, but not a. But he also could have been 16th to like 20th or whatever on that list of votes for the first team. So, which is a bit surprising. I thought he would get more votes, to be honest. At least from Arizona and UCLA.
Well, yeah. I mean, you dropped 27 in the biggest conference game of the year. You would think more people would notice, but I do wonder. So you said that like honorable mention meant he got one vote for first team. Do you
at least one. At least one.
Okay, so what I'm trying to figure out is, and maybe you've seen this because I haven't, like how sort of the voting process works. Do teams vote, like do coaches vote their top 10 and then they take all those votes to make the top 15 for first and second team? Is that how they do
That's
it?
what I assumed. I don't know.
Okay.
That's just what I
like,
assumed.
I don't know either. I kind of figured maybe they did like a first team, second team situation, but maybe they don't. Maybe they just do everybody votes for 10 and then if everybody's voting for 10, because I was pretty, so obviously I wrote, those of you who subscribe to the newsletter know that I wrote a lengthy post on, or lengthy newsletter on Jalen Wells that went out this morning. And, I was sort of incredulous that he was not first team, but or not at least second team, I mean. But if the voting is such that everybody's only voting on 10, then I think it kind of makes a little more sense, right? Because if you think about it, you're like, all right, are they putting, is a coach going to put 3 guys on the first team from the second place team? Probably not, right?
And it's hard to not vote for, if you're doing WSU, it's hard to not vote for Miles and Isaac.
Yeah. I mean, and I think, and rightly so, I think, right? Like it's, those are the 2 guys who, were the 2 highest usage players. They were, and coaches love, they love their counting stats. They love their high volume type stats, and they don't always look at efficiency the way that, for example, you and I do. So yeah, if that's the way the voting went, then it does maybe make a little more, at least like sort of mathematical sense to me as to how he was not one of the top 15.
I could be
guys.
wrong on that too.
I'll bet you're right. I bet you're right.
Yeah.
I didn't think about it, but I bet you're right.
Yeah, but yeah, that's how I've always have thought it, thought of it as.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to remember. I remember I wrote a post where I was incredulous in like 2009.
Yep.
Where Baines didn't make the first team All Pac-10, and we were using a lot of, instead of using counting stats, who obviously on a Bennett team was just awful. Like you're going to be at a disadvantage for that every time. But his tempo free stats were incredible and definitely among the 10 best players in the conference. But of course, WSU was like 9-9 in league and all that stuff. Whatever, the NIT team.
Yeah.
So he didn't, he probably never was going to make it. Me as a a much more jaded 38-year-old versus like the 24-year-old that wrote that post. Like,
yes.
Now
we were so idealistic then.
Yeah, people now know, like, why can't you think like me? That like every 23, 24-year-old is like, well, everyone should think like me. I have the best way of thinking.
Of course.
But yeah, there's a Cougs Center post where I was just livid that Aaron Baines wasn't named, and and we get caught in this, like, well, now when you and I we're like, this is stupid, but we know why it's stupid.
Yes,
like it's because, but even like Jalen averaged over 15 points a game in Pac-12 play.
Yeah,
like that's really good. Like, but seriously, I don't know how you can ignore the efficiency stats. They're so insane.
Yeah,
and he's not just like he's not just like a catch and shoot role player. And we talked about it at length. The reason his usage isn't higher is because he never turns the fucking ball over. Like it's crazy. He's such a great player. I mean, obviously, yeah. Like, but at least he got honorable mention. Like a damn D2 up transfer got honorable mention, and then a Big Sky up transfer who went to 3 years at a community college got all Pac-10. Like that's first team. That's like what a fucking year. Like what a year.
And the other first team player hadn't played competitive basketball in 2 years. Right?
It was ringing the fucking bell a year ago.
Yeah. Like I mean, independent of the fact that he was, coming back from cancer, which obviously is, a huge deal and incredible accomplishment. Just if we set that aside and just go, we got a guy who hasn't played competitive basketball in 2 years. Like you wouldn't expect much from that guy, regardless of the cancer, right? Like you would just be like, it'd be so hard to come back and play again.
You added the cancer. It's like he didn't get it. It's not like he was practicing constantly. And
Correct.
I know he was limited on that, and he wasn't in the weight room.
Yeah,
he's wearing a T-shirt for a reason.
Right. So incredible. It's all just incredible stories, man. You got 3 guys. You got Rice, freshman of the year, first team. You got Jones, first team with everything he has done development wise. Again, another guy who spent a year not playing basketball, with outside after he graduated from high school, and then grew a bunch, and then Wells. I mean, it really is. it really is amazing. Kyle Smith, rightly gets so much credit in terms of just bringing those guys in and putting them in position to succeed. But one of my pet peeves is when the sort of the media complex surrounding college basketball, and I like to call it, the cult of coaching, where it's like they just they fawn over coaches. And yes, Kyle Smith deserves a ton of credit. We know, everybody listening to this knows we love Kyle Smith, to death, right? But all three of these guys, man, you just look at what they have done individually, for themselves. Miles Rice, I know that when he was going through treatment, they, were struggling to keep him off the floor, right? Like he was always doing stuff he shouldn't be doing in terms of conditioning, in terms of shooting, in terms of whatever. And then Isaac Jones to, I don't know how many people have seen this, but, one of our, our friends over at Cougs Center, Mark Sandritter, tried desperately to find some high school footage of Isaac Jones at Ording High School. He found a little bit, and it is something, man. You can see quite clearly how he did not, why he was not a recruit, why he did not go anywhere out of high school. And so to go from that to, an all Pac-12 first team guy, where you're talking about a relatively high usage player, a go-to type guy when you need a bucket, the number one guy on opponent scouting reports, to go from that, to get there from where he started, is an unbelievable testament to him, because you watch him play and you're like, that footwork doesn't happen by accident, right? Those up and unders, all the little, moves and counters that he has in the post, man, that shit doesn't happen by accident. That shit is planned. It is practiced. It is drilled, and that is all him. And then, Wells, same deal. The post I wrote, I found some video of him from high school that I hadn't seen before. And it's like, you watch it and it's not hard to realize why he was not, very well recruited out of high school. I mean, it's a little like, grassroots basketball highlight tape, and he looks pretty good. But also when you look at his body, and he's super skinny, and he's, he's tall and lanky, but also not like tall, lanky, and springy or athletic. But you can see the body control, right, that he's so good with now. But like, you just kind of look at him and you're like, if you're a Division I coach, are you thinking, I don't know, can I develop this guy? Maybe if he puts on some weight, but it's just not easy to see. A JUCO guy most of those JUCO guys are trying to grab guys to put to Division I, right? Like that's their goal is, okay, I get some guys, I send them to scholarships, and then I get noticed, and then I go get a high major coaching job. Like, so he didn't look like that kind of guy. He just ends up going to essentially the local D2 college, right? And to then show up on campus and, he's leaned on right away as a freshman, plays pretty well, and then just, transforms himself heading into his sophomore year, plays incredibly, transforms himself again, coming to Wazoo. I mean, he is truly a self-made guy. And you love seeing guys like that be able to succeed. And I think you can say that about all three of these guys. And it's so fun to see guys like that be successful and have all the accolades that you want them to have. It's just, this year has just been so fun, and obviously don't want it to end, but these guys are amazing.
I know, we talk about it every week. It's just the easiest team to root for. Like, it's the easiest team ever, up and down the roster. Like, it's just, there's so many good stories, and they're so easy. Like, you come in, and obviously the Miles Rice story, but then the Isaac Jones story, the Jalen Wells story, Oscar Clough coming from Australia, not really playing basketball until, like, his Oscar Clough's parents don't know shit about basketball.
Yes,
like they don't know anything about
correct.
basketball, because he didn't play basketball until he was basically high school age, and then he probably played Australian rules football or something, but you get kind of too tall for that at some point.
Yes,
6'10" dude out there.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's pretty hard to leverage yourself at that point.
Yeah.
And they
But
seem
yeah,
to love playing with and for each other.
yeah,
Like, I think
yeah.
that's the other part is like, Jay Mullins is, I think, a great example.
Yeah.
That's a guy who was supposed to be a key player, one of the best shooters in the Pac-12 last year. Obviously limitations in his game otherwise, but really good shooter. Played, quite a bit at the beginning of the year. His minutes dwindled, and now he's not playing at all. Like, he can't even get on the floor. And
he's
yet,
basically
every
been
time
surpassed by Isaac Watts, right?
Yeah.
Or Isaiah Watts, sorry. And like by a freshman.
Yeah.
And who
But every
has
time
basically the same game, but it's a little bit different.
Yep. Every time the camera pans to the bench, somebody makes a three. He's out there with threes in the air and shooting the arrow and like
pointing to the veins.
Pointing to the veins, right?
Point to their
Injected
veins
into my
because you're
veins,
ice.
right?
No, I think it's ice water. In the veins.
Ice in the veins. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Whatever it is, I'm old.
I like injected into my veins. Inject that three into my veins.
See, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Give me all that right into my veins. But he's
I can't wait for our second podcast deciphering Gen Z.
We're gonna have
symbolism.
that'll be Emma and Morgan and Ashley. We'll have to get the three of them on with us. They can explain
Ashley
everything.
Gen Z. Come on.
Yeah, that's true. I'm just like
she is involved with us, so she sees a lot of Gen Z.
Yeah, she's connected to all of it. She can be, she is close enough to both that she can kind of interpret.
That's true. She is kind of in the middle.
Yeah, I did do a fun thing this morning. This is going to be lost on our listeners, but I did drop an FR for real this morning on Slack. Yeah,
FR.
I was feeling
on God for real.
At least 5 years younger than I actually am today. So yeah. Anyway.
on God for real.
Yes.
Sorry, what were we talking about?
We just lost all of our listeners. They're like, I have no idea what you're fucking talking about. I'm like, I don't really either. I'm just pretending like I understand. So, but anyway, all right, Stanford Cal. So we got Stanford now in this quarterfinal game after Stanford
after
Cal completely melted down. That was one of the more amazing. So by the way, I need you to walk me through this, okay? Because I was. There was, I don't know, a minute left in the game or less than a minute left in the game. Cal was up by 4. And then I came back in like a minute later because I went out to check on my steak. Came back in and Stanford was tied with the ball. Like I had no idea how that happened. So explain.
So Cal gets fouled and they make one free throw to go up 4. And then they foul Maxime Renaud pretty quickly, and he makes one of the free throws, or no, maybe it wasn't Max. It was another player. They make Stanford. Actually, I think Cal might have got up 5. I don't know.
Might have been.
Whatever. Stanford gets free throws and cuts it to 3. Cal turns it over on the inbounds. Just ball goes through a guy's hands. Right, Stanford.
Okay, that I missed.
In the scramble. Wide open, Stanford 3 buries it. Stanford has hella shooters.
Yes, they do. That's the one thing they do have.
Wide open, yeah. But they were shooting like absolute shit. I think, but at that moment when he shot that 3, they were 2 of 21. Buries it, and then they hit the first 2 in overtime as well. By the way,
yes.
So, he buries the 3. They tie it up. It was one of the white guys. I don't remember which one. Then Cal, they didn't even have the fucking. They were like showing the replay, and then you look up, and Cal has turned the ball over again. Like they're showing the Stanford players running down the court, and the clock is still running, and then they pan back to the play, and Stanford has the ball and is calling timeout. So I actually don't they turned it over again. And I was watching it on my phone, and we were watching something else. So I don't really know how Cal turned it over again, but it was on the inbounds again. And then Stanford, no one scored. Stanford didn't score, so they went to OT, which is good for WSU.
Yes.
Although I think I came around to your side that I would have rather had Cal because despite Cal having a much better, a coach who has done really well, coaching against us this year.
Yes.
Just the talent level of Stanford is so much
It's
higher.
a bit higher.
And we saw like against USC in particular where that could just be terrifying. You know,
Yes.
even UW too. Like it's just when there's talent on the other team, like it doesn't matter what the coach. They could just say, "Fuck you, coach. We're going to play really well today."
The good news is that Stanford's not as talented as either of the two teams you just mentioned. Like they don't.
Yes,
they don't have
true.
they don't have the top end talent. You know, Reno
and
is fine, but whatever.
And Stanford's specialty of 3-point shooting is the
Really
main
tough
thing on
against
defense
us.
that we try to limit.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we're like
and
so long on the perimeter. It's tough for teams to shoot against us.
teams just it's tough for teams to get shots up.
Yeah.
And then we saw in Pullman, I saw right there in front of me, like Reyno's slenderness gave him trouble against our front line.
Yep.
I think.
Yep.
I think there's going to be Oscar had a good game against UW, and I think he's gonna. You're going to see Oscar play a lot against Stanford.
I think so.
That was
I think
probably
so.
one of. It might have been Oscar's best defensive game of the year was against Stanford. It's like so. And he just bullied Stanford inside.
Yeah.
And so I think he had like 3 blocks that game.
Yeah.
He was just not letting Reno get position. But yeah, it's we just played Stanford. Like we just previewed this team a few weeks ago.
Feels like it.
That's why it kind of sucks when you get the Pac-12 tournament. It's just like you're gonna play a team that you've at least played once, but now we're getting a team
Probably twice.
Yeah,
And now you're gonna probably play him a third time.
And then, but the good thing is they've beat the shit out of them twice.
Yes.
It's one thing.
I do think, by the way, I do think this. I mean, the final score, yes. The second time around, it was a little dicey
fair.
for a while. It was a little dicey for a while, but it did work.
10
out,
minutes left, and then and then WSU was pulled away.
Yeah.
But WSU
By the way,
WSU had 2 kill shots in that game. Well, not really. I mean,
Yes.
they were 13-2, 16-2, not real true kill shot. They did have one true kill shot. But I think that they could do that against Stanford because defensively they match up with Stanford so well.
Yeah. What I was going to point out, something we didn't mention before talking about this Cal-Stanford game. Cal led by 18 with 14:36 to go.
Yes.
They led by 18.
Thank you, Preston in the Slack for
and Stanford outscored Cal. Yeah, the rest of the way
they scored. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like Cal, in the final 14 minutes and 36 seconds of regulation, Cal scored 6 points.
Yeah,
6 points. There was one point where I think Stanford was like on an 18-2 run over like 12 minutes or something insane like that.
Yeah.
Like it was just like, what in the fuck is happening?
Well, that's why I made the joke like
Yeah.
Cal is going through the early Kyle Smith years. Like,
Oh my god.
good coach, only some good players. Like because we had our own miserable, horrible experience like
Yes, we
that
did.
against Stanford a few years ago.
Yep. Yeah. Tyson, they are just, if Tyson's hitting, they are dangerous. If he's not, they're not. And he was 1 of 8 in the second half. I don't know if he, at one point, I don't know, 1 point deep in overtime, he hadn't even taken a shot in overtime. So yeah, they kind of didn't have that. Stanford, one interesting thing about what Stanford did, and so it'll be interesting to see what Haas does in the game against us. Kanan Carlisle, who has given us, all sorts of fits, in the 2 games that we've played this year against them, he only played 6 minutes in the second half. So he played 13 minutes in the first half, scored 4 points, really wasn't super effective in the second half. And then of course they were coming back. Benny Gieler, who we have, absolutely made fun of on this podcast, was playing because they were coming back with him on the floor, and he finished out the second half. Kanan Carlisle didn't play at all in overtime. Gieler played, I don't know how many minutes he finished with. Hold on, I can tell you. he finished with 22 minutes. So he was playing most of the minutes at point guard. So anyway, it was kind of interesting to me that Carlisle didn't play a whole ton in the second half or overtime. Just 6 minutes in those 25 minutes. I'm curious if Haas rolls back with him tomorrow against us, and if he does, the one thing I think that we were sort of hoping for advantage is that Stanford might be a little tired. Carlisle only played 19 minutes, so I don't know. Maybe that makes a difference. Maybe I'm overthinking.
Say, like, Carlisle definitely went nuts against us in the he has massive usage against us in both games.
Yes. Yep.
So it almost feels intentional from WC's side.
Maybe.
So he hit shots in Palo Alto or in Stanford, but in Pullman he was 4 of 8 from 2 with 1 of 5 from 3, and he turned the ball over 3 times, had an 87 offensive rating, 34% possession. Yeah, if you got a guy with that much ball, like you go ahead. Like if you're going to be 87% offensive rating in an era when like 107 is average, like you go ahead. If you want to be 20%, basically a little less, but 20% less than the average player, then you go ahead and shoot all you want.
Yeah.
So we're hoping more for that cannon, Carlisle, not the first one. Although just even with that, we still beat it by 14 because Miles went thermonuclear or whatever. But Stanford. It's weird. I do feel like we just it was just a couple weeks on the pod ago. I guess it was about a month ago. We previewed them. Like Renault's always gonna, he's gonna give me pause because he could push it out to the 3, and he could shoot the 3. And anytime a team has a bunch of shooters in a one and done scenario, like type of thing like this, it's scary because they could just go off, it's if they just feel, they have. They have Michael Jones, 43% from 3. Spencer Jones, 39%. Brandon Angel, 47%. Maxime Reynaud, 37%. Then you have Carlisle, who's a 33%er. Benny Geeler, who's a 34%er. So it's just there's a lot of guys that'll take a 3 on the team,
And that's what hurt us in Pullman for those first 30 minutes is, they were hitting some threes. They were working. They were kind of picking apart our zone. Brandon Angel in particular was finding some open shots. And also Stanford had this little set that was sort of putting us in a bind in the corner. And Angel was either popping threes from out there or he was able to put the ball on the floor and drive from there. Once we got out of that, then it was sort of lights out for Stanford after that. So it'll be interesting to see if Haas,
Stanford
Jared Haas,
only ended up shooting 18 threes, which is pretty low for them.
Yes. Yep. If I remember right, I mean, the last 10 minutes, they really just couldn't find any of those. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what Haas tries to come up with. The short turnaround, I think, benefits us. I think it also benefits us that Haas just isn't a very good coach. I think that's sort of part of the deal too. I don't know, man. I really, really, really like us in this game. I think we are. Let's look. We are a 71% favorite via Ken Palm. No big shocker there, at least in my mind. At a neutral site. I just think the advantage is to us, pretty much in any way you want to slice it. So, I think like you said earlier, best case scenario for us, it really feels like it has played out well for us. This is a team we match up well with. They're not coached very well. They're on a short turnaround. They're just coming off an overtime game. I don't know that we're going to walk over them, but I think, I think the conditions. I think we could, but I think the conditions are good for a, at least a relatively comfortable victory.
Well, and one thing I'm curious about is what are we going to get from Andrej? Smith this week has made it sound like it's a stinger and not a serious separation or anything, which is good. Because
You ever had a stinger?
Yeah, it's days off help. So hopefully
Yes, it's true.
the 6 days off help.
Yep.
You know,
I remember getting one, well, more than one, playing football in high school. And it's like, yeah, it's when it happens, it's unbelievably painful. And truly, you can't lift your arm, you can't, whatever. If you just like your arm just feels dead, really, it just feels dead. Like I can't do anything with it. But it does recover pretty quick. So if that's truly all it is, then yeah, I feel pretty good about that. I am not convinced that that's all it is. Like he's had that shoulder taped up all year long. I can't say it's been all year long.
Say that.
I just can't remember a time when it was.
About it. I think it's only been like the last few games where it's really.
It
was like halftime. It was halftime. He came out after halftime with it taped up.
Okay.
I want to say the USC game.
Okay, maybe that's true. I feel like that KT tape has been there for a while, and and again, it's one of those, like, I don't know, like I've used KT tape when I run or whatever, mostly a lot of times preventative, right? It's not like because I have an injury. It's just like, hey, I put this here and my body hurts less, right? So
no, because remember we found the Greg Woods, I think, found the video. It was a hard screen for Broadman.
Yes, so there was that. He
didn't have the tape on it before that. He got the tape. He came out with the tape.
Okay. All right. So maybe it really is, not as significant as it seemed. I hope it's not. If it is, I hope they just sit him. As much as I want to win this tournament, as much as it seems, totally awesome, and as much as, you and I talk about this a lot, trying to live in the moment, right? Like we just want to live for now because there's all these things, surrounding the program. I don't need to articulate all of them. Like we're just trying to live for now. But I'm like, at this point, if playing him in this tournament, trying to win this tournament costs him being at his best in the NCAA tournament, then I would much rather we sit him this week and let him rest some more. But I don't know, man. Kyle Smith, he can be a little cagey sometimes. So who knows?
I think it's fair to say that WSU could beat Stanford without him.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think that's absolutely true. Yep. I think that's true.
So if they want to give him at least another day off, or at least use him sparingly, although with an injury like that, you're just risking any bump will make it worse.
Right. Yeah, you take a hard screen, which you're probably not going to get from Stanford. But
I think you're right that he had injured the shoulder earlier. I don't think he had the big tape on it until
maybe not.
Maybe he was maybe it was a stinger before then, and that hard screen did something else. I don't know. But yeah, and so they got Stanford. I'll say like the draw they got in the tournament is actually it sucks to say because I would love to have the regular season title, but it's better than it would have been had WSU won gotten the 1 seed and won the Pac-12.
Yeah, I think the path is better.
I would have still taken the regular season championship.
Yes, me too.
But
me too.
But Arizona's getting USC again, who they just lost to, and who gave WSU fits, and WSU barely escaped against.
Yeah.
Who led WSU for like 36 minutes in that game. Required like an amazing night from Isaiah Watts. But WSU's getting Stanford, who they've beaten twice by double digits. Or they would have gotten Cal, who beat them at home there in OT, and then lost by 20 in Pullman.
Yep.
Arizona's getting a team that they literally just lost to in their last game, and didn't particularly compete against that much.
I tried not to pay attention to that at all while I was in Vancouver. I was like, I don't even want to know. And
I know
y'all dropped into Slack and were like, don't look at the USC score. I'm like, well, fuck you. Now I know. Like, God damn it. Why you got to do that? But
I was trying
nah,
to ignore it
it's
too, and
fine.
then same thing. Slack. Don't look at the USC score. I'm like, fuck,
Yeah.
of course I'm gonna
And
go
who
look at it now.
knows? Who knows what Arizona does if they have to win that game to win the? I mean, who knows?
But I don't know.
I'd like to.
I don't think it's different because they're trying to get
Probably
the one
not.
seed. Like,
Yeah,
they still wanted
like
to
I would.
win.
Exactly. I would like to think that it's no different, but I also would like to think that it was different, and that's why they lost. So I'm just gonna.
Sure. It was different.
I'm just gonna hold
they
on.
Just
to
for
that.
try.
Yeah,
It
thank
was
you.
for try, Jeff. I
Thanks,
love
buddy.
that. Yes.
I appreciate that.
Nothing would have been different had WSU won. That's what we're saying.
No,
That game that we have not talked about, and we will not talk about.
Yeah, goddamn, we're not talking about that at all.
Yeah. But yeah, because honestly, we future's so bright in the next couple weeks. I gotta wear shades because I'm gonna be in one of 8 different cities in a week. It's fucking wild.
Yep.
Me and my buddy Kaylin, we decide we're going together. We're going same flights. We got the hotels. I got the hotels booked. We'll book the flight when it comes. All that. So we're excited for that. But anyway, so yeah, but the path here, because if they beat Stanford, right now Utah's played Arizona State, but let's just say Utah beats Arizona State, which is not a given because Arizona State just beat Utah in Salt Lake City. So I looked Utah Arizona State is just what I put in Google, and it gave me the football score from this year on November 4th, which was 55. I don't need to tell you who had the 55.
Yeah.
Utah's up by 19. So yeah, so it's going to be Utah or Colorado in the next round. Both teams that they've beaten recently, obviously Colorado they almost beat in Boulder, and Utah they handled easily in Pullman. Utah's not the same team that they were when they lost to them in Pullman or in Salt Lake. And Utah's just never the same team away from Salt Lake, let's be honest.
Yep.
Although I'm sure there are a lot of Utah fans in Vegas. Like it's not a long trip. But yeah, so it's like you have teams that you've beat. Obviously, they've beaten every team but Arizona State. So it's like any team, any draw they would have gotten would have been teams they've beaten, unless it's Arizona State. Like, but I would have loved to get another shot at Arizona State, to be honest.
Yeah, I kind of on both. I'm both on that. Like Arizona State, I would love another shot at them just because it was annoying that we lost to them. But also, like, I'm kind of like, are they a team that maybe, like, kind of are maybe a bit of a matchup problem for us, which is possible. So I don't know, but
I would take the potential matchup problem versus the actual good team of Colorado.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do agree with that.
Colorado also is difficult to match.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on that one. I'm with you.
And Colorado's going to really need that win over us.
Yeah.
I
don't know.
And,
like
and
I
save
think
it for you.
if they beat us, I think that sort of cements it for them for the most part. But I also think they could be in just with a win over Utah. I think that's they beat Utah.
Yeah, that's.
I think they're probably in at that point.
So. Utah is destroying Arizona State, and that might bump them into that top 50, which would make them a quad one on the thing. So if Utah makes it to play, if WSU beats Stanford, we're saying a lot of ifs because obviously all this is going to happen before next time we record.
Yes.
If WSU beats Stanford, if they play Utah, that will be a quad one game because if Utah beats Arizona State and especially how they're beating them now, and then beats Colorado, they will because they're like at 50.
Yep.
I can look this up. So they're like at 54 in that. They'll definitely jump in the top 50, and as long as WSU is beaten by 25 again, they'll probably stay there. Which I don't think they would have. Which I would love if they did. I would definitely take. I would love WSU beat Stanford and then beat Colorado so bad they dropped out of the top 50. That would be amazing. drop from like 30 to 60.
No,
Just
no.
eliminate
Wait, Craig.
2 quad
No.
one wins.
Craig, you got this all wrong. We should be losing to Colorado because it's better for WSU financially
God.
for Colorado to get into the tournament. Craig, where are your priorities? Okay, so for people who don't know what I'm talking about, John Wilner.
Any Cougs fan who says that anything other than
yes.
just
Yes.
John Wilner, fine, you say it. You're big
Yeah,
W
yeah.
idiot.
That's your
supposed to-
job.
You're supposed to. I mean, he's not a big W idiot, but he's supposed to say stupid shit. Like,
Yes.
That's just his job.
Or like pretend like he's got this, big brain, right? Where it's like, okay, I'm going to big brain this for WSU. They should lose or whatever. Anyway, the point was that, WSU's better off in the long run if, financially, if one more team gets in the tournament, Colorado, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine.
It's not that much money.
But it's not that much
One
money.
team.
Like it's really not that much money. I mean, if Colorado makes the tournament and then makes the Final Four, okay, maybe. But like, it's really not. It's really not that much money. So anyway, it's just absolutely silly. I think for us, playing either one of those teams, Colorado or Utah, is gonna make a difference. Is gonna be helpful for us if we can win that game. Yeah. We, after the loss to the team that shall not be named, we are now at Bracket Matrix, which is sort of like so for people who haven't subscribed to the newsletter, I've written about Bracket Matrix many times. It's essentially a wisdom of crowds type situation with bracket projections. And every year at the end of the year on Selection Sunday, this wisdom of crowds is by far the most accurate prediction in terms of both who's in the field and what seed line they're going to end up on. More accurate than generally over time any individual person who does it. Like it's really, really good. So right now we are the top 7 seed at Bracket Matrix. So, and we're pretty solidly in that spot, either that or the second 7 seed. Us and Dayton are very close. But Nevada, the last 6 seed, is pretty solidly in that last 6 seed spot for the moment. So what that tells me is, hey, if we're thinking about moving up to a 6 or a 5, in my mind, I think we really need to. I think we got to make it to the final of the Pac-12 tournament. I think that's kind of that's the thing that'll move the needle. Perhaps in one direction. Beating Stanford's not going to move that needle at all. Losing to Stanford obviously would move the needle in the wrong direction. And so if you go out and you beat Colorado or Utah, both teams that are, the net likes, each one of those will be, I think, quad 1 wins, right? I think that's what you were saying. So you pick up another quad 1 win, you're head to the championship. I think at that point, you could see yourself moving up to the 6 line or the 5 line. If they win it, I'm not sure. What do you think? Like, I tend to think at this point a 5 is sort of their ceiling.
A 5. I think a 5. If they beat Arizona again,
yes.
If they beat USC again, I don't know.
Yeah, I still have a hard time.
Again.
There's a part of me that's like, the people who are doing these brackets are still human, even though they're supposed to look at these resumes and it's supposed to be unbiased and whatever. Like I just kind of wonder if they would be able to talk themselves into the second place regular season team from the Pac-12 that beat Arizona twice, who wins the Pac-12 tournament, is like a 6 seed or whatever. Like I just can't.
Yeah, I think
I'm not sure that they could talk themselves into that.
The reason we're projected as our net is not very good, 45, which would put you, normally as like a 11 or 12 seed.
Yes.
But everyone's projecting us, 6, 7, 8 around there. It's because of these, it's because of the quad 1 wins. It's, 6 and 3 against quad 1, and then quad 1A, which is another thing that NCAA looks at. That Arizona wins, the Boise State win. I think there was one other quad 1A that we have. like just like these big wins, and we've seen
Yeah.
it for the women before.
Yep.
too, and we're hoping for the women
Yep.
that comes through again. We've seen it for the women too. The big wins will bump you
Yep.
up seeds, and I think that a lot of the bracketologists recognize that, and that's why we're at a 6-7 line for a lot of them, where our net would probably more put us at like, because like if you think about it, we're on the 7 line with like St. Mary's and Gonzaga and St. Mary's are 17 and 16 in the net,
Right.
but they don't
Yep.
have, except for over each other, don't really have
Yeah.
a lot of quad 1 wins.
The committee
so-
not sticking to net is going to benefit us this year. Like,
Yes,
it's
they
it's
don't.
gonna, and
They
it's
don't with seeding typically.
but those big wins you were talking about are really, I think, really captured in wins above bubble. That's a stat
Yes.
that we've talked about
Which
in the
were very-
past. Yeah, the idea is, okay, wins above bubble, the simplest way I can think of to explain it is just basically like, okay, how many wins do you have that's above what you would expect a bubble team to have, I guess is the way to put it. We are plus 2.1, which is 28th overall on the season, and that's kind of where we're at, right? Like 28 on wins above bubble is a 7 seed if you're just like seeding
Yep.
based off wins above bubble. So, and you get more credit on wins above bubble for big wins. That's kind of the thing, right? If you're a bubble team and you beat Arizona, you get more credit for that. If you're a bubble team and you lose to a
and for
terrible
big
team,
losses, you
you
docked
get
pretty big.
penalized pretty bad. So WSU has generally avoided super bad losses. Obviously, the loss to Arizona State wasn't good, but that was on the road. Not as sure of a thing as probably most people would think. Santa Clara, that's the one that's kind of bleh, but losing at Cal, again, not like a super bad loss. Like the team has really avoided those this year where they've had them in the past. The last couple of years, particularly last year, right? Prairie View A&M. This year they've avoided the big losses. They've also picked up some big wins. All of that adds up to the kind of stuff that the committee tends to reward. So feeling pretty good about that. In order to make, I think, like we said, a difference, I think you gotta make it at least to the final to make a dent.
Yes.
And then of course, if you win it, I think a 5 is still on the table. I think I don't know, man.
If
Tough
you
to see
lose
him getting a 4,
Stanford-
but who knows?
Yeah, I don't think they're not getting.
I don't think so either. But
if you lose to Stanford, I think that will knock you down a peg. But if you beat Stanford and then lose to Colorado, I think you're probably just staying where you are.
kind of where you're
I think
at.
you're probably staying around a 7.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. I think that's fair.
But yeah, I think if you beat Colorado, then potential go up to a 6 or a 5, or beat Arizona again, or just like I said, I always think of like UW in 2019 winning 15 games, going 15-3 in conference play, winning the league. They didn't win the tournament. Oregon knocked them out.
Yep.
But which worked out really well for the conference because Oregon was not going to make the tournament that year, and
Yep.
they desperately needed another team. But UW got a 9 seed that year, so because actually, but to be fair, UW did not have the type of wins that this WSU team has because they are pretty similar in net. But UW didn't have. They had 15 wins, but they were literally like no good team. Like they lost to Oregon, was the only other like top. Like Oregon was the highest ranked team on KenPom that year, and they were 28.
Yep.
So they net. I can't remember when that started. It might have started that year, but so they didn't have the quad 1A wins that WSU had with Arizona's and Boise State. Like those are huge. Those are so
Yep.
big. Like beating Arizona and Tucson. Like if you don't have that, we're probably sitting at like a 9 right now.
Yeah.
But having that is so huge. Like it's so much bigger than losing to Arizona State and losing that other game that we lost.
That we're not going to talk
or
about.
losing to Cal. Yeah. But at the same time, like I like to put all that aside. It would just be really fun to make the goddamn at least get to the Pac-12 title game.
Yes.
because WSU has never done that. The men have never done it. And
Mhm.
last year, the women making a run and winning it was so fun. Like, I know
Yes.
you said, like, you'd rather them focus on the tournament or whatever, like, but you have a real good path here. And
Yeah.
it'd be nice if they could take advantage of that and get
Yeah.
to the final, and then whatever happens in the final happens in the final.
Yep.
And also, I'd love to see them not fall to that 8-9. I don't want that to happen.
No, that's a
7-10,
really shitty place to be.
7-10 is still, like, in terms of, like, advancing past the first round, is not that different from 8-9.
Yeah.
But it's really
Yeah.
advancing to the Sweet 16 is where it becomes
Yeah.
very different. Like,
Yeah.
7s beat 2s way more often than 9s
Yes.
and 8s beat 1.
Yes.
But
I would also much rather be a 6. Like,
yes,
if we can somehow get to a 6, I feel really good about that.
6s beat 3s a lot more than 7s.
Yes, 6s beat 3s a lot. The difference
also, I
between
think
a
that-
6
I
and a
think
3
the-
is not that much.
There are some really good. I think there's some really good 2s, and then the 3s just become much less scary. It's honestly going to be like a lot of Big 12 teams, who are all very good, but also they get a bump because they're all playing each other. To be honest,
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
you're
in terms
talking
of the
about
ratings, like,
the 2s. You're talking about North Carolina, Arizona, Marquette, Iowa State. The 3s, you're talking about Creighton, Baylor, Duke, Kansas, and all 4 of those teams are very flawed. Like,
well, yeah, Kansas just lost by 20 to Cincinnati.
right?
So
Like,
they might not be a 3 anymore.
Yeah. Obviously we've beaten Arizona twice, so we're not, our guys aren't going to be scared of anybody, in that sense. But yeah, like if you're giving me my choice, right? I mean, I'm picking, Creighton, Baylor, Duke, Kansas, for that second game. Again, and assuming you get past, the first one, 7-10, again, you're talking about the difference. So if you're a 7, you're talking about playing TCU, Michigan State, Seton Hall, Mississippi State, who we've already played once. So obviously they wouldn't pair us up with them in the first round. But then 11s, you're talking about, potentially a play-in game. You're talking about Colorado, Virginia, St. John's, Drake, Indiana State, Richmond. This is all at the bracket matrix.
If they could match us up against Virginia,
God. They would.
Absolutely.
They will swear
that
to their
shit.
dying day that they do not do that. There's no time to pay attention to that. They're just doing what they do. But I don't know.
Oh, we see it.
I don't know if
we
I
see
buy
it.
it.
We see it in Champions League where they pretend it's a random
blind draw.
and then
Yeah.
And then somehow, it always ends up that a player is playing against their former team every goddamn time.
Yep.
Every time.
Yep.
Like,
or a
it always
coach or
happens.
whatever. Yeah. Happens every time.
Yeah.
So, but if you're telling me like, again, do I want to play the teams on that 10 line or 11 line? Like I'd much rather play those teams that are on the 11, currently on the 11 line. Like, to me, that's kind of a no brainer. So,
by the way, just stop for a second and think about how wild it is that Kansas was a 6 seed in the Big 12 tournament.
Totally wild, considering how often they were the one. Like, how many years in a row were they the 1 seed?
1. Yeah.
Like, it was
Like,
a
it was
huge
like
number.
18 or something.
Yeah, it was like a massive number of years in a row.
And then also they lost to the 11th seed, Cincinnati, who is 33 on KenPom after beating it.
Yeah, and not even sniffing.
They were
the
40.
tournament.
They were 43 coming in.
Yeah,
And
and not even sniffing the tournament because
not at
that
all.
league is so fucking tough. Yeah, good luck to all those Pac-12 teams that are jumping over to the Big 12. But anyway,
Good luck at that basketball league.
have fun with that.
Football league should be all right. Basketball league.
No,
Which
that is
really what they're
brutal.
building. That is what they were building anyway.
Yeah, seems like it.
It's pretty obvious at this point.
Yep. Okay, so I got one more thing for you here. Bart Torvik, our friend Bart Torvik, has conference tournament simulators. You want to hear the numbers on the simulations given the results today, and then assuming that Utah wins. You want to hear some of that?
Yes. I think it's
all
a
right.
fair assumption. Utah is up by like
Yes.
25 at halftime.
Yes, and Arizona State not exactly known for its offense, so I think we're okay. All right, so obviously Arizona top odds kind of throughout. 85, 86% to make it to the semis. With a 14 USC with a 14% chance of beating Arizona. So 74% to the finals, 58% championship. Okay, so no huge surprise there. Maybe a little bit of a surprise to people is the second highest odds of making it to the finals and winning the championship is Colorado. It's actually not us. The as you mentioned, net wise, things like that.
Is higher rated on Tarvik.
Yes, higher rated on
So they would be
Torvik
favored in
and
a
Ken
matchup.
Palm both. Yep. So they'd be favored in a matchup with us, and are 13.5% to them to win the championship, 36% to make it to the finals. So a little bit higher than us. We're third odds at 30.7% to make it to the finals, 9.5% to win the championship. And again, if you're telling me we got a 3 in 10 chance to make it to the finals, I dig that. That sounds good to me. And of course, all this could get upended, with some other results in terms of championship. But Utah is fourth at 25% to the finals, 8% championship. So Utah and Colorado tend to be ranked pretty similarly. And most of these systems, they're not too far off from each other. So not a huge shock that Utah and Colorado each have not super different odds, because whichever one of them wins, is going to be either a little bit favored against us or probably a bit of a coin flip. So that's kind of where that is. Everybody else, not so much. Everybody else is like 5% or less. Oregon 5%, USC 2.5%, UCLA 1.8%, that kind of stuff. I will say it does allow you to take it down to last, X number of games. So when I take it down to the last 10 games, again, we don't look super great on that because we had a couple of not great games there to finish the season. But let me run it this way.
Yeah, our last 3 were
Yes, we losing 2 out of the last 4. Okay, so our odds here. Okay, so our odds now, if we just take last 10, are 11%. So a little bit higher. Colorado also goes up a bit to 15.6%. Utah drops a ton to like 4%. So really at that point, it becomes Arizona, us, Colorado. We're the only ones over 10%. Everybody else is 5% or less. USC, oddly enough, at 5%, because they have been on a bit of a tear over the last 10 games.
Yes.
So
yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of where we're at. Does that all sort of jive with your thinking of kind of how this, the odds of how this shapes up?
Yeah, I honestly think, Arizona's biggest obstacle to the title game is their first game against USC.
Yeah, I
think
so.
they handle Oregon or UCLA, no problem.
Yep.
And then, WSU is going to get probably, the Stanford. We both said they should win, but
Yes.
if then they're going to have a tough game. Utah, Colorado, depends on the Utah you're getting, honestly. But they've also beat those teams very recently, and beaten them by enough where it wasn't just like home court. Maybe like it was like fairly decent advantage. Colorado, they've played 2 tough games against home and away. Obviously, 2 teams that match up well together. I think that'll be a tougher game
for sure.
Yeah, Utah could.
I'd
be
much rather
too,
play Utah.
Utah's got shooters and shit. You never know. Fuck it. What's his name? 55.
Gabe Madsen.
with all the tats. Gabe Madsen, he terrifies me. But yeah, like it's crazy though, Jeff. What did you do with, as we said earlier, 16 years since WSU didn't play on this Wednesday. What did you do with your time today?
Man.
Like your time of not worrying about a WSU basketball game happening today.
Well,
For the first time in 16 years.
I mean, during my day job, like you, I watched Borussia Dortmund win their Champions League tie. So that was
No, I didn't do that at all, Jeff.
start.
I was working.
Yeah, no,
working
me
all day.
neither.
What are you talking about?
Definitely not while my students were working on things. I definitely didn't have it on a monitor.
I
on my desk.
definitely didn't watch the extra time and penalties of
between Inter
Atletico and
Atletico.
Inter as well.
Yeah. Nope, me neither. Definitely didn't do that while my students were writing an essay. No, when I came home, I drank some bourbon. I listened to a record because my father-in-law brought me Pink Floyd The Wall this morning as a birthday gift. So had that and listened to that and watched Cal Stanford. I watched not WSU play, which was fantastic, and grilled a nice ribeye steak. So yeah, it was. I've never been so.
Fuck, Jeff,
I've never been so ecstatic to not watch the Cougars play. Like it was awesome.
Can I admit something terrible?
You forgot it was my birthday, didn't you?
Well, I didn't forget. What have you ever told me what day is your birthday? I just looked on Facebook and it told me. I don't even look on Facebook anymore.
Yeah, I don't. What that mean? You get to a certain age, you're not exactly broadcasting when your birthday is. I mean that's kind of that's kind of how it works when you're pushing 50 like I am.
If we were friends as since high school, I don't know what my high school friends' birthdays are. Because we celebrated that.
Yeah, well, I'm only I was only the best man in your wedding, so no, that's definitely.
Well, when's my birthday?
April 4th.
No.
April 5th, 6th.
Well, yeah, you got it wrong though.
I was close.
Around now.
I was close though. I was close.
Yeah, but happy birthday, Jeff.
Thanks, buddy.
Sorry, I didn't say that earlier.
Sorry, I didn't mention that to point out that you didn't remember.
I realized when you were like, I had bourbon, I had steak. I'm like, oh fuck, it is Jeff's birthday. I do this. I know it's Jeff's birthday. In my mind, I knew March 13th was important. I didn't know why. I was like, fucking March 13th. It was like one of those things.
Hilarious.
Like today, I was like, fucking March 13th. Like, why does this matter? Why does March 13th matter?
Yeah.
Why does this matter? I don't.
Yeah, I mean that's why we went up to Bellingham and Vancouver last weekend and went to the concert.
Yes, of course.
Little birthday trip, took the family up there, and it was a great day.
Company.
Yes, saw the record. God, I love them
record company.
The record company. Saw them up at Wild Buffalo. They were incredible. It's like I said, never been so excited to not watch the Cougars play. Very satisfying. Totally awesome night. So yeah, I'm jacked up for tomorrow. I'm glad for once, for the love of God, they are not playing at 8 p.m. or 2 in the afternoon
12.
or something like that. They're playing at 6. I get to come home and just kind of relax and sit down to watch the game. I'm super stoked about that. Yeah, man, things are awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think just to extend your birthday out, it'd be a great present if they
It would.
won the
I agree.
Pac-12 tournament.
Let's do that. Give me a belated birthday present on Saturday.
And then also, the next weekend, just to extend it out, win the first 2 round games. Sure you go to Sweet 16.
Let's just keep doing
birthday
that.
month.
Birthday
month for Jeff.
Absolutely.
And then the weekend of the Final Four is my birthday.
Yes.
The actual semifinal game, I think, is on my birthday.
Woo.
So if they could make it to that, I would cancel my current birthday plans of going to Portland with my family, and would, I've already told Amanda this, because everything, the train tickets and the hotels are all refundable. I
Yeah.
told her, like, look, if somehow magical run WC makes it the Final Four, I am not going to Portland with you.
Yes.
I am flying to Texas
Yeah.
and going to
Sorry,
the Final
sweetie.
Four. Like, that's
I-
what I'm
I
doing.
am-
I don't care.
I am pretty sure I would also be borrowing against, some sort of future earnings to go out and do that as well. I don't know, man. It's like, yeah. I mean, for all the reasons that we don't need to talk about, like, it would be so special to be able to do that. So, yeah, that would be awesome.
Yes, that would be awesome. Yeah, so happy birthday to Jeff.
Thanks, man.
So I got to ask, though, and I think we'll talk more about, Selection Sunday or whatever coming up, but we're an hour in, so I guess we can talk about, Jeff, what are you drinking for your birthday?
Yeah, so I picked up the another Single Hill beer. So we have Single Hill, pretty often here. I picked up the Single Hill Golden Girl West Coast Pils, which has a beautiful picture of Betty White on it. So it is delicious. So I'm curious for you to describe to me what is distinctive about a West Coast Pils, because I'll tell you kind of what it seems like to me. It seems like,
well, if you remember, I had a West Coast Pilsner last week.
I do. So, but now that I'm like sort of tasting it, I'm like, okay, like I remember drinking at some point like an IPL, like an India Pale Lager, where it's like a little, you get some of that hoppiness in with the lager. That's kind of what this tastes like to me. Am I way off on that, or is that in the same ballpark?
You are absolutely right.
Okay. Woo! I did it. Hell yeah!
I believe I believe that they are basically the same style.
Okay. That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Because I'm catching I mean, it's got that clean, crispy like Pilsner,
I would say
but there's also like a
less of
hoppiness to it that you don't normally catch in a Pilsner.
I would say maybe the classic IPLs I think are from a brewery called Jack's Abbey in New England.
Okay.
I would say that those typically had more of a bitter finish than you get in a lot of the West Coast Pilsners. The West Coast Pilsner are more like about hops up front in the flavor and in the aroma, and less about the bittering at the end.
Yeah,
and that's why I think they're even better. They're like a better iteration.
Yeah,
because I don't really want to fuck with the ending of a Pilsner. It's perfect. It's crisp. It's beautiful. But yeah, to have all that the beautiful tropical and citrus in the process, it's great. I love it. Great style. I love the West Coast Pilsner style. It is
totally delicious. I love it. It was great. I'm glad I picked it up.
Single Hill.
And then Betty White, just an extra bonus. So getting her mug out of this can.
Single Hill crushes it. They make me so proud as a Yakima native, and then also I know one of the founders. We talked about that. He was on the podcast.
Yep.
He went to Wazoo. I've known him since high school, and he just wanted to, as many of us left Yakima, he wanted to go back and make it better, and he has with this and a few other things, including the Chinook Fest. He's one of the founders of that as well. And so, which, by the way, Chinook Fest, they've been running that for years, over a decade, I think. And this year was the first year I actually recognized one of the bands I was already a fan of when I saw it on. They're having Blitz and Trapper, who I've seen live.
Oh yeah, those guys are great.
So they're having Blitz and Trapper at Chinook Fest, which is it's cool.
That's awesome.
It's on the Nile area. Oh, it's on Route 410 and Jim Sprick Park, and they put on a weekend festival. And it's usually kind of a lot of folk rock, indie folk, roots rock, stuff like that. I've never went, but it looks like a blast. And he's done that. They've done the Single Hill. Single Hill is one of the best breweries in the state.
Yep.
And it's so nice. I always go. I try to go there every time I go home, whenever I go to visit family. Yakima. It's great. I love their beer.
Yep. Yeah. Anytime I see them, I know like it's gonna be good, right? So like, if I see it hanging out, I'm like, yeah, I'll take one of those. So I'd say at this point, Single Hill and like Wayfinder, when I see the two of them, it's sort of an auto buy.
Mhm.
Like I see something, I'm like, yep,
Wayfinder.
I'll take one of those.
Wayfinder is the most auto buy for me of any brewery.
Yeah.
Like I just them Holy Mountain, I would say too, is up there.
Yes, that's
Um,
another one. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. What about
Wayfinder,
you,
I don't know
man?
if you ever been to? I don't know if you've ever been to Wayfinder's space in Portland. It's awesome.
I've not.
But if the Cougs don't go to the Final Four on my birthday weekend.
Gonna have to do that.
But yeah. I'm having. So I love that you picked a beer that's kind of mishmash style, like a combination of styles, like a West Coast IPA and a Pilsner. So I'm actually having a one of the first like real prominent kind of combo styles, which was more, I say, was rose in prominence about between 10 and 15 years ago, where it had its popularity, like 2009 to 2014, I would say.
Yeah.
But it has recently come back, and that's this one is Ferment Brewing Company. They're in Hood River. This is called Doug the Dark Ale CDA. Jeff, do you know what a CDA is?
I don't.
So, it is a Cascadia Dark Ale.
Okay. I guess I was
so
thinking in my head the DA is probably dark ale. So
and can you guess what other prominent name that Cascadia Dark Ale goes by?
barley wine? No.
No, but that's a good guess.
Strong ale?
Black IPA.
Okay,
IPA.
black IPA. All right.
So yeah, so in the like there was debate over the name of this. It was very regional. It was I coming from the West Coast when it was raising in Providence was always like when I lived in Nashville and Vermont was always like it's Cascadia Dark Ale, like it's our beer. We hop the shit out of everything out there. But then when I moved to Vermont. So what I would do when I was in Nashville, Yazoo was the big craft brewery, and I would go to their brewery, and then when I would go to restaurants that had them both on tap, I would mix their IPA with their porter. I would ask for half and half because they didn't make us. Because I was so into this like black IPA Cascadia Dark Ale style, and then I went to Vermont, and there's a kind of classic brewery called Vermont Brew Pub, which was kind of one of the first breweries with a restaurant on site, like in like the country, similar to Grant's Ales in Yakima was also around there too. But Greg Noonan was famously the guy that started that. He passed away a couple years before I moved to Vermont, so I never got to see him or meet him or anything. But he was very legendary when I lived there among the brewery scene. So it was called Vermont Pub and Brewery, is what he started in 1988. It was actually because that whole concept it was illegal before for a brewery to have like a restaurant on premise.
Yeah.
And so that's, you see some of them popped up after that. But he also brewed this sort of style, a hopped up kind of porter or stout, and he called it a Vermont porter. And so in Vermont, people would call them Vermont porters, and then everywhere else they call them black IPAs. Black IPAs, CDA, Vermont porter, but they're all the same thing. It's basically IPA strength, so like around like 6 or 7%, hopped like an IPA, but but the malt bill is more like of a strong porter, and so I used to love them, and then every brewery made them, and there were so many bad ones, but now the breweries are starting to make them again. Like they definitely stopped making them for like 5 or 6 years, and now they're back. And actually, the ones that are made now have brought me back around the style. They're very good, and this ferment one is very good. It's a good balance. It's got the great like notes, like the great hoppy notes when you when you smell it. It's very citrusy and piney, and then you drink it, and it's got this like hoppier flavor that goes along with the nice kind of malty body. It's a very good rendition of it. This ferment one. But yeah, I basically bought this beer because I wanted to just talk about black IPAs and Cascadia dark ales and kind of some of the history there. And Vermont porters, of course. So very, very interesting. Maybe doing this specifically because someone said in their reviews that they would like us to not talk about beer, and so I was just going to nerd out even harder.
Yes, that is definitely one way we could go about it.
Yeah, we'll take you. we have taken your feedback into consideration, and we have blatantly ignored it and are downright rebelling against it.
It's just push the little 30-second advance button.
Yeah.
You know, just like it's okay.
About
you won't
10
offend
times
us.
this time.
You won't offend us. Just like hit it a few times. You'll go right past. You'll zoom right past the beer, and then you can pick up with us talking about women's basketball or whatever. So
yeah, I gotta say, now so it's weird. Like, there's our plan is we're not gonna record again until after the selection show.
Yeah.
But if WSU wins the Pac-12 title,
yeah, we might
find a way to record on Saturday night.
Yeah, we might have to do that. Saturday's going to be weird, man. Saturday's a full day. We got I don't know. Are you planning on going to the Sounders with me on Saturday?
No, because I am grinding through a half marathon, the St. Patty's half marathon.
Oh yes. Oh good.
I have not been able to train for a couple weeks because I've been dealing with the remnants of a cold.
Okay.
I have not coughed on this, so I think I am ready.
I think so.
But also, I have run nowhere near 13 miles.
Ugh.
But I have in the past, and you'd be amazed at what runner muscle memory can do.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to run it slow. I'm going to run it real slow.
Okay.
But I did write on my Coug Mud Club application that I would run it in the Cougs St. Patty's Day shirt, so I'm going to do it.
Woo!
I'm not backing down. But yeah, because I don't want them to. I don't know. Maybe they'll take away my mug. I don't know. Maybe they track those. If you don't do what you say you're going to do,
I don't think so.
Maybe they take your mug away. Who knows, Jeff?
I don't think so.
Who knows? I got to do it. So I'm going to do that. So I'm not going to fuck. Of course, that is on the one goddamn daytime Sounders game.
I know, right? I'm like shit. You're not going to go?
Goddamn
12:30 kickoff.
Well, also Amanda's working, dude. I got the kids. I can't.
Yeah, whatever.
Whatever. My mom is coming over to watch the kids. Well, I guess I could be like, Mom, you want to hang around a little longer? I want to go to Saturday's game. Maybe.
Personally,
maybe,
I think you should.
Maybe.
Personally,
Actually,
I think you should ask her that.
I just thought of this plan. I'm Mr. Burns.
Because I'm saying,
are...
we go to the Sounders. Cougs are in the championship game at 6:00. Like, I mean, this could be an epic day.
But also, I'm saying, like, Jeff, it might take me a while to run this fucking half marathon, and it starts at 8:15. Okay.
You're like, I'm going to be sitting there like, Craig, kickoff is in 15 minutes. You got to finish this. You got to wrap it up, buddy. You got to wrap it up. Get across the finish line.
Show up the smelliest person alive. It's all right. So I have ran a half marathon in way less training than I've done this one. And I did that one in 2.5 hours. So I think I'm just going to try to beat 2.5 hours. So, which is not good, by the way. That's nothing to brag about. That's like 12-minute miles or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I walked. I ran the first 9 miles of that one. I ran it way too hard, and then I walked the last 4. This one I'm going to just run real slowly at the start.
Yeah, just like go on a nice little stroll.
I will push it.
Yeah,
I'll just go on a stroll.
I like that. I like that.
I had aims on bigger, better times for this, but there's been a lot. I've been like having fucking young children. I've been sick multiple times while training, where I've just had to stop training for like a week, and so I it's just set me back. I had a whole plan and it set me back. But I'm still gonna do it. I've ran half marathons before. I think 3. So I've done. I think 4, something like that, or like actually like organized ones. So I know I can at least like power through it. So yeah, like I'm gonna do that. Maybe I'll see what else my mom has going on. See if she wants to hang with the girls all day. But then we all have that, and then the game is at 6. If the Cougs get there,
Yep.
that would be quite a packed day.
Yeah, we'd be done with the Sounders at about 3:00 and go find a place to watch the game, and I don't know, Beer Star probably, and then just go nuts. So
because you and I watching the last time we watched a Coug game together at Beer Star,
turned out pretty good.
I watched the women championship last year at Beer Star. So.
I mean, it's ordained at that point.
So the site, So if the Cougs get there, and then we'll probably just record a pod right after that.
Probably a very semi.
We're just talking about ideal scenarios. Right?
Yes.
Ideal scenarios.
We're gonna, as Emma would say, we're gonna manifest it. We're just gonna manifest that shit.
Manifest it. Get your candles out.
Yep. We're gonna have a little circle.
Do you hum like
I guess. I don't know. I mean, if it helps, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You chug a Busch Light or something. I don't know.
God, how long has it been in my life since I've chugged a Busch Light? That's been a long time since I've done that.
Were you in on the when we maybe you were in on the circle of shotgunning Tecates at my wedding? I don't know if you shotgunned a
don't
Tecate
think I
wedding.
was. I don't think I was.
I don't think you are either. I don't remember.
Yeah. When was that? Was that like right when you guys got there, or like?
No, that was. I'm pretty sure that was the after party after the boat ride.
Okay.
Not the wedding after party, but the other after the next after party.
The after party. Yeah, I don't. I don't.
Highly recommend 7-day parties in Mexico for your wedding.
I can endorse
the way
that
to go.
for sure. I agree.
The way to go.
Why
have
agree
one
with that.
day? Why have one day, or why just have a weekend when you can just have all your friends fly to Mexico for an entire week,
dude?
And
I can't even tell you how many times I've had this conversation with Sarah where I'm like, man, Craig and Amanda, they got that shit figured out, man. like I look back on our wedding.
That was the only way we were getting married.
Wonderful day. Like my wedding was a wonderful day. But also we were young and broke, and neither one of our sets of parents were contributing all that much to the situation. And, so we ended up, in the church that we were going to at the time, and there was no meal served, and, just there was a lot of stuff that, we would do differently. And now I'm like, fuck, man, this is awesome. Like, we're just gonna just like fly someplace awesome and hang out with all of our friends for a week. Like, that kicks ass, dude. Like, that's so much better than what we did. I'm not gonna counsel my children to be like, listen, don't do what we did. It's okay, like, be partners for a while, and then when you have money, then invite us to a big party somewhere else. Like, that sounds awesome. Like, do it like Mr. Craig did. Okay, just like let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and do that. I'm 100% endorsing your life choices, Craig.
Yeah, I saw like Instagram. They always have these prompts on stories, and what today was like you in Mexico. Most people would skip this, but I put on my story that picture of you and my other you, Corey, Kevin, and Kaylin, and me laying on top of you guys. In that picture, we're all wearing the CA hats.
Yes,
Craig and Amanda.
Yes,
they're California Angels, but they're Craig and Amanda hats.
Yeah,
and I'm just laying on top of you. And I got my legs up. It's funny. It's a picture. Yeah, it was a blast. It was so good.
Yeah. Everybody should do that.
But yeah, so that'd be cool if all that amazing stuff happened on Saturday. But then Sunday, big day. Obviously, we know the Coug men are going to get in. It's just going to matter where they're going to go. I'm gonna be staying there. I've been talking to Amanda. I'm like, I know I'm gonna go somewhere for like 4 days like 4 or 5.
I just don't know where.
Next week. I just don't know where. Like it could be literally Spokane, Salt Lake, Indianapolis, Omaha, Memphis, Charlotte, Pittsburgh, or Brooklyn. Like I could like so many different places. Like so many different places it could be going.
Yep.
The 2 places I have not been in that list are Charlotte and Omaha. I went to I had a layover in Charlotte. I don't count that.
Yeah,
But,
I know which one of those 2 I would pick if it was me.
Charlotte?
Yes. Yeah. I wouldn't. I mean,
like,
I wouldn't. I don't know. Like, is there
I
anything
feel
in
like-
Omaha other than the College World Series? Like,
Omaha's a big city.
I don't know. I mean, it is, but like, is it a destination city in March?
I don't know. There's like
Like,
500,000 people there. There's got to be something.
There is. I mean, it's a good city, like good sized city, but like, I don't know, man. Charlotte's going to be warmer too.
We have some good friends from Omaha, and they
Okay. All right.
they don't really like the people, their family, but like they talk about the steak there a lot, and I'd be like, hell yeah, like tell me where to go. Get steak.
Well, yeah, that is true for you. For you, that is true. By the way, quick update. Utah now leads Arizona State by 32 points with 10:20 to go in the game. So I think
Arizona State.
I think
might
this
be like,
one's in the
"Fuck
bag."
this, we're done.
Yeah, I think this one's in the bag. Frankie
But how
Collins.
amazing would it be?
By the way, I just want to say Frankie Collins is leading Arizona State with 13 points on 17 shots. That's bad.
Hey, Jeff, it's only 15-10 in the second half.
That is
Arizona
true.
State is making this competitive.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right.
Utah is currently on a 7-0 run. Arizona State 0 for their.
So
or
they
sorry,
were
1 for their last 14 field goal attempts. 253 scoring drought. Yeah. Do not recommend.
Oh
It's pretty
man.
funny. Yeah.
So it sounds like Arizona State basically came out hair on fire to start the second half. It's the end of our season. We'll give it all. And then it didn't work. And they're like, fuck it. Fuck this. I'm
Yes.
done.
Poor
This guy
Bobby
is
Hurley.
such an asshole that we play for.
Yes, we play
I'm
for such an
fucking
asshole.
tired of it.
Yeah, they've had enough. Arizona State does
I don't know if
only
he's an
have
asshole to the
one
players.
player
He
in
definitely
double.
just
He might not.
comes off of this.
Maybe his players
Yeah.
love him. But Arizona State does have only one player scoring in double figures, and that's Frankie Collins with 13. Utah, meanwhile, has 3 players in double figures. Cole Badgema, by the way, leading them in points with 16. Cole
Oh my God. Cole
Badgema. How about that? Yeah. Brandon Carlson is barely playing. He's played 12 minutes. He's got 2 points. They're up by 32.
Well, that's
The fuck?
they're like, yeah, bad matchup, Brendan.
Gabe Madsen's got 10
Um,
points and 0 3-pointers. This is like, man, Arizona
he can
State.
score without making
Yeah, apparently.
3-pointers?
Like, Arizona State, like, what the fuck is wrong with you that none of this is happening and you're still losing by 32 points? Like, that's all I got to say.
Fuck was wrong with us losing to them.
Well,
Also,
yeah.
it's wild that like Arizona State just a couple weeks ago beat Utah in Salt Lake.
Yes. Yeah, apparently Utah did not forget about that.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
use that for some kind of motivation, or maybe they realized, oh shit, we actually have to win some games if we want to make the NCAA tournament. We should probably start doing that. Honestly, I'm not sure. So
We obviously NCAA tournament. We have the selection Sunday. As we discussed, as I discovered during the podcast, that they're actually doing the women's selection Sunday this year.
yes,
And it's basically right after the men's selection Sunday show. I have, my feeling is that WSU is on the outside looking in, but I do think they're not far on the outside, and it really comes down to how much are they going to value the wins when Charlize was healthy? How much are they going to penalize them for Charlize not being there? how much are they going to value them beating Colorado
Yep.
without Charlize?
And I
And
think
then
that's
also,
the
how
big,
much are they going
the
to
big
value
feather they've got.
the Pac-12 conference, which
Yep.
is and say like it's the big like it's the equivalent of the Big 12 in the men's.
Yep.
Where it's just an insanely deep conference.
Yep.
So yeah, like how much they could value that. I see like Audia Barnes constantly trying to promote how good the conference is and stuff like on her social media, so she's pushing it and all that, because Arizona's in a similar place to we are, this bubble team hoping to be on the right side come Sunday. So it's going to be, I think it's going to be down to like how many teams in the Pac-12 does the committee feel comfortable putting in?
Yep.
And we've seen though, they sometimes they just fall in love with the conference and they're like, fuck it, put them all in. And honestly, if you value these top level wins, like WSU has so many, if you just and getting that win over Colorado, I hope they value that stuff. I'm thinking WSU's gonna maybe be one or two teams away, but it would be pretty sick. It would be an amazing day if both teams got picked into the tournament. That would be such a beautiful cap on the day.
We'll be recording the show while that is probably going on, right? Like, we'd probably the men's, and then we'd be recording, and then the women's would be taking place as it goes, and that would be a hell of a day for sure. So I hope cross our fingers. It's possible.
Remember, I think it was the first year they got in, and we weren't sure that they were going to get in, and then they were the very first team revealed.
Yeah. Yep. And they were not
right away.
and they weren't, they were sort of like comfortably in, where it was like, oh, wow.
Yeah, we thought they were like maybe at 12 and they were at 9. So that
we're like, they're going to sneak in, and then they were at 9. So hopefully this year
basically
is like
WSU's been like in this run these last 3 years. WSU's been undervalued by the bracketologists compared to the selection committee every year by multiple seed lines. So if that's true, WSU is solidly in, and that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that is true again, and WSU is solidly in, actually, in their minds. Because it would just it'd be a nice, a nice capper. And we just I honestly they've had such bad luck with Lease going down, and it was so impressive that they got that win at Colorado still.
Yep.
That Cal game was a bummer, but I hope they did enough. It would be so cool. It would be just like the most perfect day of all time.
Yep.
If that happens.
Yes, it would.
Because obviously, both basketball teams have never made the tournament in the same year. Like, you don't even have to look that up.
Nope.
It's never happened.
Like, you would, even if you just looked at the two histories and guessed that, you'd be like, oh, wait, no, yes, that's correct. Because, it's so, obviously both teams have not generally been good over their history. And so they are,
this would be the seventh time the men's team has made it to the tournament, and the women are sitting on 4, 3 of which were the last 3 years. So not a lot of chances for overlap there.
Nope, not too many.
All right, Jeff. Well, maybe I'll see you on Saturday. Maybe we'll watch some Sounders and watch some.
Make it happen, Craig.
Pac-12 championship. I think if the Cougs are in the Pac-12 championship, we'll definitely be watching that.
Yes.
Because the band will at least be off work by then.
Yes.
Big weekend ahead. There will be tears regardless on Sunday.
Yes.
We'll just see how many. But with that, I'll say, obviously, newsletter, Jeff mentioned it earlier, podcastversuseveryone.com. Subscribe to the newsletter. We're up over 450 subscribers.
Yeah.
Woo! That's awesome. But I know more of you than that listen to this. So go ahead and give us a subscribe. Jeff is, like you mentioned, the Jalen Wells piece. It's amazing, and some of the stuff he's been writing has been awesome. You definitely listen to it. You also get the podcast earliest if you subscribe. So do that. And Jeff, with that, I say
Go fucking Cougs, Craig. Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter.
Get vaccinated.
Still.
And support a union.